In December 1964, Malcolm debated at the Oxford Union in England.
I read once, passingly, about a man named Shakespeare. I only read about him passingly, but I remember one thing he wrote that kind of moved me. He put it in the mouth of Hamlet, I think it was, who said, "To be or not to be." He was in doubt about something. Whether it was nobler in the mind of man to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, moderation, or to take up arms against the sea of troubles and by opposing, end them. And I go for that. If you take up arms, you'll end it. But if you sit around and wait for the one who's in power to make up his mind that he should end it, you'll be waiting a long time. And in my opinion, the young generation of whites, blacks, browns, whatever else there is, you're living at a time of extremism, a time of revolution, a time when there's got to be a change. People in power have misused it, and now there has to be a change, and a better world has to be built, and the only way it's going to be built is with extreme methods. And I, for one, will join in with anyone, don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth. Thank you.
Malcolm was always involved somewhere in the struggle.
Experience. You know why I treasure this so much, this opening with Malcolm? It shows the example of a man. This is towards Malcolm's end of his life. This is 65, January. He died a month later, all right? Now, you hear what Malcolm said? He didn't care what color you are.
Right, he's ready.
Anybody that's willing to change the system, all right? Now, he had come to, this is the same guy who said blue-eyed devils, right? Remember? Okay, so you can see how you mature once you become aware of the rest of the planet. Because when he went to Mecca, he saw that there were people that were white people at Mecca. And he changed his surroundings. So it's the content of your character that makes you the certain person that you are, not the color of your skin.
Absolutely.
So we as blacks have to take that same consideration when we look at anybody and everybody. But this is our biggest struggle, how we struggle amongst each other, how we deal with each other. So we come to the point of the show is we're talking about gun violence, right? And you're dealing with that almost every day, right?
Just about.
All right?
Just
you're dealing with the kids that
day.
are actually shooting up. And let's talk a little bit about what's happening today. I understand we know about this young baby that was killed, 6 months old.
Chicago,
in
Illinois.
Chicago. 2 days ago, was it?
Yesterday, I
yesterday,
think it was. I think it was yesterday, the early part of yesterday. If not, it was 2 days ago. Yeah, day before. And that young baby was shot up while the father was changing its diaper and was shot up as well. And the baby, my daughter called me last night to inform me that the baby did not survive, but the father is surviving but is in intensive care. And I think that the baby, there were several shots to the baby's body as well as to
This happened in a van?
Yeah, that's what I understand, yeah.
Okay.
It's just sad. The death of a child anywhere, shot up, just because it just happened to be there, and that the bullet was meant for an adult who may have been engaged in gang violence or some other activity. It's just horrendous to even, of an act to even think about when you have a child. And we're seeing a lot of this. I mean, not just in Chicago. Chicago has a high, very high incidence of violence, but here in New York, we saw Lloyd Morgan this summer just passed, killed on a playground.
Yeah. 4 years old.
4 years old.
That was sad.
Right, and we see there was a young child shot in the eye in a playground. I think that was in Staten Island. And in almost every borough, this was all like this summer, the early part of the summer. So, every borough has experienced some violence, and some violence associated with young people in some way. And there were some more recent ones. But, I mean, we can go on for a while across the country. So this issue of violence has not just plagued our teenage community, it's plaguing and affecting our young children and babies.
Right. And a 16-year-old out in Brooklyn. Graham's going to be here a little later.
To talk about the activity with the police.
Had a gun. He had a gun.
Well, that's what they said. There are those.
Well, Graham to the police officer. He said, Graham
there
said
was
he had a gun.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, then if Graham said he had a gun, I truly believe that.
Okay.
But
So
I know that
checked
there
with
was
Graham.
one person looking out a window that said they didn't see a gun.
Well, he was part of the Bloods.
Right.
So we'll hear that story from Graham
Yeah.
when he gets here. But tell us about the associate you brought with us.
Well, I brought Ray Vaughn because we're always talking about the issue of violence.
Right.
And I always like to balance that by talking about some of the solutions that we have to the violence.
That's
and
what
we
we
do
wanna
have
hear.
some.
Of course.
And there is hope. And
Right.
we're trying to help instill hope in our young people. And we do that through music. And so Ray Vaughn is working with Street Corner Resources,
Okay.
the organization I founded some years back. And we have a studio called the IMP Studio. And I'm going to let Ray Vaughn say something about that. And,
Good. Good. Welcome. Happy birthday.
And it's his
to
birthday.
you.
Happy birthday.
to you. Yeah. Happy-
Yeah.
Surprise, huh?
Yeah, too much, Sir. Mom, thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
What we do focus on as far as the studio is concerned is helping the students be creative through music, more focused on their experience, their life experience in their neighborhoods. I've gotten a chance to speak with a lot of students on a one-on-one basis and understand that the odds are highly against them. I myself grew up in the city before we moved to Westchester. I'm from Westchester, from White Plains, and have a clear understanding of the odds against us as young black youth. And
Where
black
were you
men. Well, I was raised in the Bronx. Then I moved to White Plains approximately
Fort
fourth, fifth
Apache?
grade.
No, not wild.
No, that's too far. But also, I mean, through the music that we created at the IMP Studio, the kids are highly involved, and I'm also highly motivated to participate in any way that they can and be creative. The one thing that we stress very highly at the studio is use of language, obscenities, to remove all violence from the music. You know, we're used to hearing, as you know, young youth, we're hearing all these gangster rappers coming up, and a lot of them want to emulate that type of lifestyle. But through the music, I'm able to, not just myself, but all of the staff together, we're all able to shy them away from that lifestyle so they can see the realness beyond that, because that's just one lifestyle that's such a parody in itself. Most people don't get to understand it from the mental side, so they only look at it from one aspect: the women, the money, the cars, and you have to kill this person or be violent towards in this lifestyle to gain any access to a lifestyle that you might want to maintain, and it's non-fictional.
So you attributed this to your experience in the service? Did that get you out of the hood?
No.
No.
What really got me out of it was academics and sports. I was fortunate that I had a good parent.
So you're blessed?
Yes.
Okay. You're one of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
Blessed ones.
Yes.
Blessed is
I use academics and athletics to help boost me and catapult
Football?
me. No, actually swimming and track and field.
Swimming, track, and
Yes.
field. You look more like a football player.
I know, I get that all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I wish I played football.
Linebacker.
Yeah.
You never tried that, huh?
No.
Well, you have to be kind of a little crazy to play football, don't you?
I think you have to be crazy in any sport.
Okay.
Athletic requires to be
Baseball is sanity, right?
Yeah. Besides steroids, right?
Huh?
Besides the use of performance-enhancing substances.
Oh, well.
Everybody does it. So.
I was a baseball player. Yeah, I enjoyed that. Well, you know, what we really want to concentrate on is how to curb the violence that exists in our society and how we treat one another. And let's take a little stroll down Occupy the Corner. But with Tamika Mallory and the National Action Network. Run that second roll in, and maybe we can get Graham on the set. Where is he here? No. All right, just run that second roll in, and we'll come back. All right?
All of you for being out here. Hello, Mr. Montgomery. How you doing? I want to thank everyone who came out tonight, all of you who have heard the call, and those people who have already been out here for welcoming us into your space. Because people like IESHA, SAKOU, and others have been out here doing this work for a long time. Right. And we appreciate you for partnering with us, IESHA, and the Reverend Vernon Williams, and the Erica Fords, and the A.T. Mitchells, and all the people who are on the ground day to day that are really the only thing between the trigger and the finger. They really are that. That's how serious it is.
We have not done an inventory and a self-analysis, and therefore dealt with the purpose in our community. What are our institutions for if we can't address the lives?
I sat in the funeral home and helped to plan the funeral of a 4-year-old baby, a baby, Cheyenne Norman's baby, Chris Morgan Jr. Hurt me to my heart to help pick out the casket for this baby, and they couldn't find the right size because he was so small. I sat there with Dominique Sharpton and others and watched this mother keep getting up to go outside because they were asking her business questions about burying her baby. Right. And I realized at that moment that who am I to be so selfish and not to lend myself every minute of the day to save another life. And so I'm standing out here. This is not a joke. It's not about the cameras. It's not about us just having a reason to come out and show that I'm here tonight. Tomorrow night we need to be back. And the next night. And in 4 weeks, what else are we going to do? When this is over, that's what we need to be asking ourselves. How are we going to ensure that the people that are on the street every night get the money they need to take care of their business and save lives on the street? I'm very serious that we need to expose any and everybody who is not working every day on saving our children's lives. Because the children were dying on the Upper East Side, the city would be shut down. And it's because the kids look like us, and that's why it's acceptable. But it shouldn't be acceptable for us. And so that's what being on these corners is about. Reverend Sharpton said, if we can't get the picture, that we got to get up off our behinds and stop sitting in our homes, let's go out to the corners and pull our people out. And that's why we're out here tonight. So I'm glad to see all of you out here on the night that people found out Reverend Sharpton was going to be here on this corner tonight. But tomorrow night, where are we going to be?
Now you see, that's Tamika Mallory. That's the Executive Director of National Action Network. That's much love out to you, Tamika. I mean, this is a true fighter. I mean, that's a true energy level of. Do you hear all that? Do you feel the spirit?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Of course, you were part of that whole Occupy the Corners. Now, what was that experience like with the Morgan kid?
Well,
Morgan child.
One, I just want to say that those of us that have been on the ground occupying corners, we've been occupying corners for the last 6 years. Right. And we're grateful while we've been doing it, and we've been doing it diligently when it was not, gun violence amongst our youth was not such a sexy issue as it is now. Right. And not to say that we're not grateful, we are grateful for the attention that the violence is getting and eliminating violence is getting. And it's, you know, we've been waiting for this. Mm-hmm. And so I thank the Reverend Al Sharpton and other folk who have brought this issue to greater light. But I have to say that people like Vernon Williams and Erica Ford, as well as you know, Operation Snug and some of the other organizations that have been working in Harlem, have really been working diligently and need to be recognized for that work and staying consistent. The feeling of being out there, though, on the corners and being there when Lloyd Morgan, right after Lloyd Morgan was shot, I think we went up there the next morning after he was shot. I got the news that he was shot. He was shot at night. And it was just traumatic. It was traumatic because, you know, I have 2 grandchildren. And I always, when I hear the age of the young person, I reflect back to someone that I know that is that age, and what would it feel like if someone told me that they were shot and weren't going to return, that they were dead? What would that feel like for me? And that's how I keep it real and close to my heart, and I stay passionate about it and not let it be, oh, it's just another 4-year-old that got shot or another kid was shot today. That we can't let it become that. We have to think about our own children. We have to think about that it's on someone else's doorstep tonight, but it can be on ours tomorrow. And we can be sitting around our living room table talking about how we're going to bury this kid. And so we have a lot of work to do, and it's you know, it's a scary issue.
Tear jerker is the least. But you know, every time Cheyenne Morgan comes to Nan, it brings me to tears. Oh yeah. Just to see this, you know, you feel it every time she speaks, and she's such a sweetheart, and it's you feel the pain.
Oh yes, you see it in her face.
It's it's hard. It's really hard. Well, welcome to the show, Graham Weatherspoon. He's a little late, but he's here.
I'm glad to see Graham.
And this is IESHA SAKOU. I understand we didn't mention her name. And Trayvon? Rayvon.
Miller.
Right. And of course, Graham Weatherspoon. And I'm Winston Gilchrist. Welcome to the show,
Thank
Graham.
you.
We were just talking about the baby out at, the 16-year-old out in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You wanted to hear your take on that. IESHA says he didn't have a gun. I said,
no, I don't know for sure. I said the last report that I heard before we left the school, that there was a woman who said that she saw the whole thing from her window and did not see a gun. It doesn't mean that there wasn't one, but she said she didn't see a gun.
It is interesting in some of the training I've given. No 2 people can see the same thing.
Wow.
It's impossible.
Right.
Your eyes can see what you can see from where you are, and you can see from where you are, and he can see from where he is. I could have a gun on me, exposed. Doesn't mean that all 3 of you can see it. My partner and I were on 110th and Lenox in the subway station years ago. And we were following a guy that we knew was going to be robbed. He was white, he was lost. He went up to 148th, had to come back down to get the 2 to go to the Bronx. So we followed him. And this was back in the 70s, things were hot. And we stepped off the downtown train onto the island platform at 110th and Lenox. And 2 guys walked up, yo, you see any DTs? I said, yo, man, I just got off the train, man, I don't know what's happening. They said, watch our back, we're gonna get that white guy. Oh, okay. And they walked over and robbed him. And we just stood there and watched and let them finish what they got to do, then we do what we have to do.
You were in plain clothes?
Yeah, always. Okay. Now my partner goes like this, you see it? Yeah, I see it. I did not see the gun that the guy was holding on this young man. They finished the robbery. I take out my ID. The guy next to me saw my shield. He says, roller, the cops. I tap him out, and I turn now to the 2 guys. And my partner is engaging. One guy jumps off the platform, runs into the tracks. Robbie says, I got him, Spoon, I got him. Get the other guy. I chase this guy to 116th Street in Lenox through the tunnel. And the trains are coming and going, and we're hopping over the 3rd rails and whatnot.
It's a movie.
It's just like in a movie, but that's what we did. And the water is hitting the 3rd rail, it's arcing and whatnot. But I tapped the guy out as he was exiting the turnstile. Doop. rolled him over, handcuffed him. The car responded, picked me up, and they said, "Your partner has the guy with the gun."
And you said,
There's no way in the world I would have left my partner when there's a guy with a gun.
Right.
I never saw the gun. My partner saw the gun, but I didn't see it, and he didn't relate that to me. Because there's no way in the world I would leave him. God forbid he gets killed, and now I have to explain to his wife why I wasn't there. And I'm watching the crime go down, but I didn't see the gun. My biggest question, you know, this is not a Ramarley Graham case. It's not a Sean Bell case.
Okay.
We need to check ourselves. We need to check our young men.
Okay.
Why are you walking around with a firearm?
Right.
This is not a game.
Right.
Firearms have one purpose: to kill.
Right.
that's right.
Whether you're dumb enough to be shooting and shoot a baby that's being changed, having the diaper changed, or hit some grandmother in her living room, why are you in the street with a gun? Why do you have a gun?
Gang member.
Why are you in a gang? Gangs are nothing new. We have always had gangs in New York.
Of course. Yeah.
The bishops, the Chapmans, the lords, the young lords, we've always had gangs in New
Egyptian
York.
kings.
The kings.
Wow.
You
Oh,
know,
an Egyptian king.
Tom Skinner was the head of the Harlem Lords back in the late 50s, became a preacher. There have always been gangs.
That's right.
So why do some of us choose to grab onto the dregs of life as opposed to reach for the grapes and the fruit, you know? Why are we going below ourselves? And then when something happens, we're crying, "Oh, I'm a victim." No, you're victimizing yourself. Life is about choices. The youngest person I ever arrested in New York City with a loaded firearm was 12 years old.
Wow.
And he had 2.
Wow.
So this 16-year-old out in Brooklyn had a gun.
Had a gun, according to the report. Matter of fact, one of his friends said to the reporter, "We didn't know he had it until the cops started chasing him."
One of his friends.
Yeah. They didn't realize he had it. It's not to say that you can't have a bad experience with a cop. We all have.
Right. Yeah.
We all have.
Yeah. Well, you especially.
But why compound the issue
By carrying a firearm.
by carrying a firearm? And you're not carrying it to do anything good.
Right.
So he's just walking around with a gun in his pocket.
Why? Why? Now, a parent, family members have to go through this tragedy. I had a young man in a robbery. I'm chasing him. He slipped and fell down in Canal Street. Slipped and fell. I'm chasing him. Police, stop, stop, stop. He turns a corner in the subway and went down the staircase. He slipped and fell. I come around the corner. He's on his back, pulling a gun. He's lying on his back, pulling a gun out of his waistband.
Wow.
I said goodbye. That was it. All right? It's a teenage kid. He's pulling a gun because he knows I'm coming around the corner. I lose sight of you. My gun is already in my hand. When I come around that corner, I'm focused.
Then you're a good cop. So you
And I don't
blast
miss.
him out.
You know, I always shot expert. Now, he's pulling his gun out, and I said goodbye. And he said, "Please don't kill me, don't kill me, don't kill me." The gun he's pulling out of his waistband wasn't even real. It looked real. It was a replica gun.
Which is dangerous.
All right?
Dangerous.
And you didn't shoot him.
He's fortunate I didn't shoot him.
Any other cop would have
Would have killed him justifiably. You know, it would have been a sad thing to know you killed this stupid kid. A stupid kid.
With a fake gun.
Pulling a gun. You already robbed somebody. He ripped off a lady. And now you're pulling a gun knowing a cop is chasing you. Yeah. And in these scenarios, I've had numerous scenarios where I took that extra moment before I pulled the trigger. Could have justifiably shot and killed a lot of people. I had a guy that got one of my guns from me. He had my gun. Okay? I had another gun. I could have killed him. I gave him an option. He made the right choice. He put the gun down. But life is about choices, whether you're 16 or 66.
That's right.
And our young people must start thinking for themselves.
Right.
You didn't come into the world. You didn't come into the world with me.
No.
You didn't come in with your best friend.
Right.
And you're not going out of here with anybody either. We have to, seriously, young men have to start thinking not just about the moment, but about the future.
Right.
Yeah.
What I do today is going to determine not just my life, but the lives of my children, my grandchildren.
Yeah.
You could be the smartest guy in the world, make a bad choice today, and as a result of it, you can't get the kind of employment that you should have because you're smart enough to do it, but you messed up when you were 15 or 16. And then you meet a young lady, you want to get married, you want to have children, you want to have a family, but now you're making $10 an hour instead of making $100,000 a year. Not that you don't have the mental capability, but you made a bad choice. Now the suffering is passed on to your children. And your children have to grow up in a neighborhood they shouldn't have to grow up in, dealing with issues they shouldn't have to deal with necessarily because of the poor choices you made when you were 15 or 16.
Yeah.
It's not we have to understand it's not about me, it's about others. It's about the people coming behind us. And we have lost that as a people. The struggles that our people went through years ago, our grandparents, great-grandparents, they were doing that for us.
Right. We're living on their shoulders as we sit here.
But our young people, they haven't been taught that.
That's right.
So we can't blame them because they haven't been taught. And the only one teaching them are the wrong people in the streets.
Well, we try to do that here, and luckily we have professionals like Graham who give some of the folks a fair shake. As we know in our history, a lot of the cops out there blow you away with no gun, with no justification. Because we have a lot of lunatic cops on the force, as we all well know.
Somebody's called.
Absolutely.
So what we do is...
And another thing, when a police officer engages in combat, if he's cleared, if it's a good, what they call a good shoot, he gets a combat medal.
Of
if
course.
he's been in combat, and that combat medal is worth points on a promotional exam.
Oh, okay.
So every citation you see on a police officer's shield case over his shield, it's worth points on a promotional exam.
So it gives you extra points on your score? Is that what it is?
Right. If you write in 80, you might have 3 more points. So 2 points on a promotional exam is hundreds of names. Literally.
Okay.
You see.
So a fair shoot.
A clean shoot.
Clean shoot.
You get a combat.
You stand for promotion.
You discharge your weapon, combat. It's worth maybe 3/4 of a point or whatever, but when you add them, there are different meritorious, different types of citations you get for doing certain things other than shooting people, you know.
Yeah.
But they add up on a promotional exam. See, so.
Well, what about all the wrong shootings, like such as the Grand Central shooting on, which the cop was never indicted. Late at night, 4 o'clock in the morning, Bianca, was it Bianca? No, Palanca.
Grand Central.
Grand Central.
Grand Central on the outside. Was it on the outside of the station?
4 o'clock in the morning. No, it's on the highway.
Oh, on the highway.
Oh, the Grand Central Park.
Grand Central Park.
Right.
I'm thinking Grand Central Station.
Yeah, he killed the
young man who was in the military.
From the war.
What was his name?
Polanco.
Polanco.
Yeah, parents named Cuevas, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Polanco. I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Now, in that situation, guy's coming home from working his second job, I believe, and cop stops him on the Grand Central and pulled him over, and there's a police officer in the back. And that was a clean shot? I mean, what was that?
Well, the police officer was asleep when the car was pulled over.
Okay.
They said it was a road rage.
Right.
Now, if it was a road rage, the cop is dead wrong.
Because
Of course.
They're not supposed to get involved
in road rage. That's what.
Right.
There's no justification for that. So the Queens DA Brown, who has failed to indict other cops when you had that sodomy case a few years ago, it's all how the case is presented to the grand jury.
Right.
And that's it. The DA can present all that he knows, or he can present that much of what he knows. So the question is, what has been presented to the grand jury? And the people only know what they hear. It's not a trial. It's a grand jury. That's why it's important that people serve jury duty and sit on the grand juries,
And
because when you're on a grand jury, you can ask questions. You can ask probative questions. Well, wait a minute. Hold it. If he said such and such, then how is such and such and such and such? And one of the jurors can have that question put to the DA or to the officer that's there testifying before the grand jury.
But there's no justification for that shooting.
Not that I saw.
So why can't we indict a cop here in New York that's done wrong?
Well,
Why is
you're
it?
looking at a system that
makes
feeds, you know,
And we go back to the Diallo case.
the DAs feed off of the police department. The DAs can't thoroughly investigate cases because they don't have the manpower to do it. They don't have a crime lab. They don't have experts to do crime scene analysis and all of that. That's what the police department has and does. So the DA is working with the information supplied to them from the agency that's really facing the charges. Now, if a cop does something really ridiculous, you know, of course they're not going to back him up. But in these line of duty shootings, it's always, well, you got arrested in 1941, so you have to be bad.
But there's nothing.
And they need to stop that because they're polluting the jury pool. There's a preconceived notion that because a person has a prior arrest, that they were doing something illegal
Wrong
at that
time.
moment. Not so. Not so. There's a guy I arrested in 1978 that came to my aid in a fight in Brooklyn in 1984. My partner and I were fighting 5 guys. And I heard this, and I turned around, and it was him. And he dropped 2 guys, instantly dropped 2 guys. He weighed about 265, big dude. He said to me, Spoon, the odds weren't fair. I arrested him in 1978, and he came to my aid in 1985.
Because you were fair to him.
Because I was fair to him.
Well,
I had his, matter of fact, the arrest that I got him for, I had that expunged from his record. He was on parole when I arrested him. I had that expunged because he cooperated with us in the investigation.
Well, what we want to do is we want to talk a bit about how to get these guns off the street. And there's a piece on IESHA that we're going to run, and maybe when we come back, take a few phone calls, see what you have to say out there, okay? So put the phone call on, run the next piece to roll in, and put the phone number up and see if we can, what kind of phone calls we can get, all right?
Sounds good. Sounds good to me. You got a lot of action.
Oh, I could write a book. I don't have the time.
Only fair cop I ever met.
Yeah.
My partner as well. My partner. I was talking to him last night.
I didn't even like cops before I met him. I really didn't.
My wife
This
doesn't
guy,
like
look,
cops.
I called
I'm telling you.
How did
Graham.
that work out?
Which one?
You called me
Beloved.
last week.
We'll talk about it. Are they taking
Yeah,
us
yeah,
right
right,
now?
Are they doing the rolling? Oh, we are online. They didn't go to the rolling.
You didn't go to rolling?
So when you get an opportunity to go to school or do something better, you have to take it. You have to really take it, because there was a time when you were not allowed to enter, to read, to do, participate. We're actually promoting a campaign to get young people registered to vote so that you have I'm sorry, Chad, I just needed to say this. Because a lot of times politicians don't pay you any mind or any attention, like this stop and frisk issue did not become an issue until young people started getting involved, until young people started using their voice. And when they started using their voice and elders started using their voice with them, now they're paying attention to the stop and frisk. Now there's policy being made around that. But politicians weren't really paying that much mind to young people, and now young people are organized. Well, today I'm really excited because in the first 10-15 minutes of our buyback, we had 2 guns here, and then we went to get coffee and we came back and it was 6 guns here. And so now I'm proud to say that it's somewhere around 26 to 28 guns. We want to make sure that any young person that has a gun that is illegal, that they're feeling very uncomfortable about, but they felt like they needed to have it, now is the time to give it up. No, they will not take you in. You can give us the gun, we'll take it in, we'll come back out with the $200. The buyback is working. I'm loving the way that people are turning in guns. Let's keep it up. Let's keep continuing to make our community safe. $200 cash for the gun buyback.
I was asking a phone call of all things from Dominique Sharpton. I'm on the air. I want to talk a little bit about collecting guns. If you have a call in, and put the call-in number up. See how many calls we can get.
Great.
What do you think about that piece?
Well, one, you know, it's always strange when I see myself on television.
Woman.
It's always strange. Yeah. And just the many different things that we do in the community. One, I want to say really a big shout out to Street Corner Resources outreach team and all of the folks who volunteer. People always think that it's just IESHA SAKOU because they hear the name all the time. But with Street Corner Resources, there are a whole host of folks, including the folks that do music with young people, Rayvon and Mark and all of the folks at the school, but all of the people on the street who we make a phone call, they show up, we do outreach, we do intervention. And so I do not stand alone. Street Corner Resources has a very strong volunteer and internship team. And with greater funding, we can pay some of these folks to do this work. So I just want to make that clear. The other thing is I'm really excited because we're getting ready to do, like you saw the gun buyback, we did that in 2011, I think, or into 2012. And we're getting ready, we just got approved, big up to Commissioner Kelly, thank you, and to Chief Morris and Chief Banks and Lieutenant Norville for supporting the fact that we needed to buy back guns in our community before the summer comes. Sometimes it's so hard to get the approval for the gun buyback because the money's not there, and they pay $200 for the gun. And what we're doing this time that's different from last time is that they have one call. Okay, but different from last time is that we're looking to buy back guns from kids and get the guns out of the hands and out of the houses of young people that would normally be bringing those guns onto the street. So I'm excited about this new gun buyback. We'll see what happens. It's an effort that has not been tried before in this way, and we want young people to promote this gun buyback. So I understand that there's a caller on the line.
Who's calling? Please speak up, please. Caller, speak up, please. Somebody on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Yes.
Can you hear me?
What's your question?
Yes, I'm calling to say hello to the sister Aisha.
All right. Okay.
Peace.
This is Sister Camilla from Malcolm Shabazz.
Oh, peace and blessings. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm seeing you everywhere, and I just want to call in and thank you for all of your good work that you're doing.
Thank you, and you know what? This work is not just done by me. It's done by the people who see the work, who spreads the message, who talks to the children in their own house, and who engages in their own community with other young people and other folk who can help make this violence stop. So I'm sure that you not only stood by and watched the work that we do, but that as a result of hearing and seeing what we do, that you've taken some action as well. So I want to say thank you to you as well.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All righty, peace. You know, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, I was just going to say that, you know, we hear a lot about the gun buybacks, and you hear a lot of folks say, well, you know, if you sell the guns back to, if you sell the guns to the police or they buy them back, that they'll just end up back on the street. I really try not to get too caught up in that dialogue, because right now what I know is I'm tired of every other day in the summertime hearing that a young person has lost their life. If there are some other problems that are systemic to gun buybacks, then we need to deal with that at some point. But right now, taking the gun out of a hand of a kid at the height of the summer, at the beginning of the summer, and we know that there's beefs, and giving them other ways to resolve conflict and other things to do, I think is a win-win situation. So I'm really you know, excited, and I'm excited that young people on the street said, Ms. Aisha, let us know when the gun buyback is getting ready to happen, because we want to help to support that and promote it. And when kids say they want to help promote the gun buyback, meaning they'll get on Facebook, they'll get on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and all of these other places to tell other young people this is a time that you can get rid of guns in your house without any questions asked. We'll come and pick it up. There's no penalty. We're not following you, nothing. Like we'll have lay people like you know, ministers and that kind of thing actually go and pick up the gun. So we're excited about this gun buyback.
So 3 more calls. Speak up. Anybody want to turn in the gun?
Hello?
Anybody want to turn in the gun?
I'm on the air.
Okay. Yes, you are.
May I ask Brother Witherspoon, is that his name, Witherspoon? Weatherspoon. May I ask you a question that's not related to gun buyback?
Yes.
Okay. I think that we're chasing our tails down the rabbit hole. I respect your opinion because you've always impressed me as a straight talker, and you're always on the right side of issues. But as my brother Gilchrist said, he's never met a cop like you before, and neither have I, because I believe this is an economic thing. You know, like people join the military because there are no jobs available. So the military is an economic thing where they're voluntary for the military. I'm afraid that black cops are in the same situation. It's economics. They become cops because it's the best job they can get, and they will do whatever they have to do to keep the paycheck. And that includes abusing our own people because they look at it as a paycheck. They don't join to protect and serve. It's an economic thing. What do you think about that? That's why you don't find no cops like you. And secondly, brother,
that's true. Whoa, that's heavy.
Wait a minute, secondly, all the cops that speak like you are retired.
Wrong.
Okay, so please comment.
I was talking like this when I was a police officer.
Amen. That's why you don't.
I worked with the Guardians Association, worked on founding 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement. I was on the job when I was doing that. And what motivated me was the men that trained me. There were black men who trained me that were taking the transit police and NYPD into federal court and winning cases in federal court against NYPD and against the transit police and also against housing police. What we tried to do in the subsequent years is get the young blacks coming into the department to take the mantle and run with it. They won't do it. Wow. They are scared.
Right.
I grew up, I know, in a different era.
Right.
I grew up in old East New York. When I was growing up, East New York was a predominantly white neighborhood. There were people there who would come in from Germany and from the Nazi. My neighbors had tattoos on their forearms. But I was not intimidated by white people. And when I talk to a lot of black cops, they don't know any white people other than a teacher they had, but they have no personal relationships with any white people. And I found that they are intimidated by white people.
Well, it's the same.
And when I went into the department, I had already worked for the Board of Ed. I worked in private industry. I was married. I wasn't a 21-year-old kid. So my mind was already set. And a lot of the guys that I went in with, our minds were set. Guys that come back from Nam, they've been to combat. You're not going to tell a grown man some stupidness and think he's going to go out there and do it. But we don't have young people today, and this is what bothers me. We don't have the young folks who will pick up that mantle. Retirees should not be speaking. The officers who are in the department should be opening their mouths now and standing up. But what can I say? People are afraid. And I told my captains, and I told chiefs, you can't fire me, you didn't hire me. And my work performance is much higher than the average officer out there. So I do my job. And I don't get involved in a lot of nonsense.
Well, one comment on that, you know, you have a lot of white police officers that come on the job, as you did in the beginning, that are afraid of black people. And they haven't met any black people in their lives. And other than, you know, the last person they picked up on an arrest. Next caller, please. Hope we answered your question.
Yes. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to address my question to the officer. Yeah. First, I'd like to commend you on your job as a police officer, because like the gentleman said next to you, you're the first cop that I ever heard of that I kind of like. So I'm going to start with that. The second thing is that I live in Brownsville, and I noticed that in Brownsville, the police officers over there, they pretty much do what they want, and it's the rest over there, they violate people's rights on a regular basis, is what I see. And I was just wondering, what are you doing now to address the issue when you see, like, you know, police brutality and you hear of cops going over the limit with a lot of arrests and situations like that? Do you go and speak to, like, the academy and speak to, like, you know, the officers coming on the job there?
You know?
Basically the white officers that are not familiar with black people, do you talk to them at all?
So far, they don't allow me in the academy. But I live in Crown Heights, so I'll be on Nostrand Avenue, I'll be on Fulton Street, and I walk up to officers, white and black, and I see them doing their thing, and I say, let me talk to you. And sometimes those conversations have run into an hour.
Really?
White and black, and I tell them, I said, let me tell you something. That gun and badge can't protect you, because 90% of the people out here can snuff you in a minute. Your relationships with the people is what is going to preserve you. Don't let the department think you're Superman, because you're not. There's a lot of kryptonite out here. And your gun and your bulletproof vest can't protect you. You need to develop the relationships. I had one white officer that was highly incensed with me because I challenged him regarding a woman who had 2 infants and infant seats trying to get out of the car. There was a crime scene at the end of the block, and she lived at the other end of the block. He's telling her, well, you have to find someplace else to park your car. She says, I've got 2 babies. He said, well, that's too bad. I said, no, miss, park your car right there. I moved the barricade, and his partner helped me move the barricade. So he started screaming at his partner, and I said, if your wife was on this corner with 2 babies, you'd have a fit. Get out of my face. And his partner and I talked for about an hour. He steamed off. And I said to that, it was another white officer, I said, let me tell you something. This is somebody's wife, their mother, somebody's daughter.
Common courtesy.
You give that courtesy and that respect to people. If you do that, it'll come back to you. Just as it came back that day when my partner and I were fighting with those guys. You cannot assume that you're in charge. You are to serve the public.
Okay.
You know, I've been retired for 17 years. I've met with Commissioner Kelly. We've talked and we've had meetings, you know. We gave him a CD.
We gave him
plenty
about
of
5 CDs.
Plenty of CDs of testimony of people who have been victimized sexually and otherwise by police officers.
Yeah.
So this is an ongoing thing. You have a mayoral election, I keep saying it. Any candidate running, you need to know who they're thinking of for police commissioner.
Yeah.
Because this is how you change that environment, because the fish stinketh from the head.
Tell us your...
Well, no, I was just going to say that community leaders are, and activists, of which I'm one, often, and that's not because I put myself there, that's because people started saying I was an activist and I was a leader. But as a community activist, we go and we talk with the graduating classes. Now this year I was not with the graduating class down at One Police Plaza as I would normally be, and I'm not sure what that was about. But I did go to talk with the new officers that would be coming into the precinct areas that my organization, Street Corner Resources, is engaged in. And one of the things I said is very similar to what Graham Weatherspoon has just said, is that the thing that will get them through the day and get them back home at night is the relationship that they have in the community. And you can come in as a gangbuster or whatever you try to be in the community and think that at night it's going to be easy. It's not. I think developing relationships, knowing who the indigenous leaders, not the elected leaders, the indigenous ones, meaning most of them don't even know what indigenous mean when I ask that. But, you know, I explain it. And I just say that's the leader that is really chosen from among the people that live in that community.
Right.
And know who those people are. Know who Miss Mamie is that sits in front of the laundromat. Know who the kids are that are working to get to college but look like every other kid on the corner and may stop and chill with their friends who are on the corner, but doesn't mean that they're doing the action of whatever else is happening on that corner that's negative. And those things are important. And I think that that doesn't happen often enough. And so when we talk about good community engagement, that's one of the things that Street Corner Resources support. You know, we do some activities where we bring young people to perform at NYPD's events, but at the same time something happened, an NYPD officer does something that is not right, that is in violation of a young person or the community, we come out on that and we speak very clearly about that. And I think that while it wasn't always liked, it may still not be liked, it is respected within NYPD, and often we're called when situations happen within the community.
I got a couple ideas to add to your efforts on. We should start a video patrol. You know, give everybody a camera and keep track visually, you know, what's happening in front of you. So there's the real eyewitness, you know, the camera. All right.
I think there's an organization doing that as well.
There is.
5 minutes. Oh, okay. But that's interesting. But I'm enthused by this show here. I mean, we've covered quite a bit today. Gun violence.
Gun violence.
And what cures it?
Serious issue.
The lack of guns. You're getting this? Oh. Graham just put show us what a gun looks like.
No, I can't do that.
You know,
I can't do that.
You got bullets, but...
this is a 9mm semi-jacketed hollow point round.
Ooh.
Muzzle velocity speed is 1,380 feet per second.
That means it travels?
It travels a quarter of a mile in 1 second.
And that's a load, though.
And when this hits you, what it does, you've seen the propeller on a ship.
Yeah.
It opens up like the propeller on a ship. Just like a flower. You see a flower opens up. A bullet, as it's traveling, is spinning. And when it hits you, these rounds are designed to open up like petals of a flower. So you're not going to have a little hole. The blades are going to open up and shred and cut as they go into your body. So they will sever nerves, blood vessels, whatever's in the way. A bullet also will gel the tissue immediately around the bullet for about a quarter of an inch. Wow. So that skin around that hole is dead skin. You have no idea what this little projectile can do to the body And ironically, I was talking with two men near City Hall one night, about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I heard a shot, and I come back, and the guy's laying there, half of his head is gone. The guy shot him.
From a little bullet.
With a .38.
What does the AR-15 do?
The AR-15 is a much higher velocity round. It will
what's
go
the size of that bullet?
It's about this big. It'll go through you.
Right.
It's a military grade round. It's not the 7.62 NATO round. It's smaller, but that round will go through you. It'll break bones hitting a bone.
What did those little kids, the 20 kids that were shot up in Connecticut, look like after all these bullets?
You don't even want to know.
Yeah.
I understand the cops that saw it need therapy.
And the nurse that came to try to help that heard it on the radio.
There is nothing normal. I've seen a lot of dead people in this city. There's nothing normal in seeing dead people, especially.
Yeah, we're at the end of the roll-in. I'm sorry. Come back to me, and I've got to say goodbye.
We're out of time.
We're out of time. Welcome. Thanks for coming. The God in me loves the God in you, and see you next week. We'll have the daughter of Malcolm X on too next week.
Okay.
So stay tuned. Thanks for calling. God bless.
Taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate, you should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Most of us blacks, or Negroes as he called us, really thought we were free without being aware that in our subconscious, all those chains we thought had been struck off were still there. And there were many ways where what really motivated us was our desire to be loved by the white man. Malcolm meant to lance that sense of inferiority. He knew it would be painful. He knew that people could kill you because of it, but he dared to take that risk.
He was saying something over and above that of any other leader of that day. While the other leaders were begging for entry into the house of their oppressor, he was telling you to build your own house.